All right, good morning. It's nice to see you all again. And some of you for the first time, right? But nice to see you all again. Is everyone surviving the first week? Yeah. Everyone was tired. Yesterday, I was telling my class before that I was like, is it the weekend yet? I was exhausted. The first 2 days after being gone, like on summer break, are always tough. So hang in there. We're halfway through the week. For us, we're done after today. And it's the weekend, though. Probably at least one more day in there for most of you. But I'm glad you're all back. We'll do several things today. I want to kind of check in with you about the syllabus and a couple of things related to that. We'll talk about taking notes, and then we'll get into chapter 1, which is exciting. The first slides of the semester are always so exciting. And then it gets sad at the end when we get to the last slide. So very sentimental that way. But are there any lingering questions at all about the syllabus? Anybody have anything that you were confused about or still have questions about at all? I can answer for you. Yeah.
How long the final paper supposed to
The final paper. So I believe I think it's 5 to 6 pages in total without the cover page and the references page. And we'll build up to it. All right. So we'll have a rough draft or like an outline, and then we'll have the final paper. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions or anything for now? Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. So on that day where we have an exam, so for example, our first exam is on the 21st of September. You'll have the entire day to take it and we won't meet. So you will have this time open so that you can take it. But if you want to take it at a different time during the day, it'll basically open at like 12:01 in the morning and close at 11:59 at night. So you'll have all day to take it at home or here or wherever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Really? So, I mean, it is something that I think a lot of us are reconsidering because of COVID. It's kind of given, I think, us an opportunity to re-examine how we do things. And it's so much less anxiety for people to be able to take, some of you are nodding, to be able to take an exam online rather than sitting here in person. So I think it's just something a lot of people are considering doing. I don't know if I'll keep it forever, but this semester it still felt really appropriate. I don't know, do you find that to be helpful? Are you happy about that? I debated a lot about it this summer. I thought about it more than I probably should have, but it feels like it's a nice anxiety reducer as people are still really anxious about the world, right? Anything else? Any other syllabus questions? Otherwise, I have some for you. I have some questions for you. So I told you that we were likely going to use Kahoot today, and we will. So we're going to do a little Kahoot review of the syllabus. I like to do this every second day. It's just like a quick reinforcer of the things that we covered. So if you have the app, fantastic. You can open the app and put in the pin. If not, on a phone, on a tablet, computer, whatever you have, you can go to kahoot.it and put in the pin, or you can scan the code. Oh, we need the music. That's like the best part, right? There we go. The cheesy, so good it's bad, or so bad it's good. I don't know, music. I'm gonna write the pin on the board in case you get booted out, but you can put any name or nickname or whatever you would like. Tested this last night with my children and they said it was boring. I was like, I'm sorry. They're like, you should ask questions about Minecraft. Okay. So sadly, no Minecraft questions, but I do have candy. So if at any point today you win a question or you win and you're one of the top 3 at the end, please see me after for some point. Hopefully that makes it a little more. 8-year-olds are brutal. I'll tell you how it is. Come on in. We're just starting a Kahoot if you want to join in real quick. Yeah. It's the music, right? I'll give you just another minute and then we'll get started. So the way this works, if you've never used Kahoot before, for it's been a while, I have, I think, 11 questions for you related to things we talked about last class. Mostly the syllabus, but also a few other like miscellaneous things. You are awarded points for speed and accuracy. So you want to be quick, but you want to be right more than you want to be quick. Most of the questions will have 4 options. Some of them are true, false, and we only have 2. But I'll read the question and then you'll select the option on your piece of technology. And we will have a winner after every question and a top 3 at the very end. Okay. Is anyone else still trying to get logged in? I'll give you, see a couple of you, I'll give you just another minute. What is that? Is that a word? Yeah. Usually the second one, per such a social psychology thing, if one person puts a symbol or like a picture, then everybody else starts. Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, if you're still trying to join, I put the pin here so you can jump in. There we go. Okay, here we are. Let's do this. Okay. First question. We're gonna start really easy here. What is the name of this class? You're going to pick the right option on you. Excellent job. Every single one of you got it correct. Nicely done. I've been an academic counselor for years, and you would be so surprised, or maybe not, how many people come in and you know what class they were in or who was teaching it. Always know where you are, right? And what class you're in. Abnormal psych, very nicely done. Let's see where we're at. For now, oh, worm, where's the worm? And what's your, I'm assuming your name's not worm, right? Cassidy, all right, Cassidy, you're in first. Take her down. All right. All right, number 2. What is the best way to contact me? Contact your instructor. Email, right? I do have a phone. I will eventually get back to you on it, but email, check my email often. It's on my phone. I'm always checking it. So please email me if you have questions, concerns, want to set up an appointment. That's always the best way. Let's see. Oh, new leader, Tori, where's Tori? Very nice. All right. Oh, we have a tie actually. Number 3. I have how many kids in total? Probably not the most important, but still. I mean, it's important to me. I got yelled at for not including our rats in this. Technically, if we include our 3 rats, it's 11, right? So 8, yes, 8 in total, only 3 of them with 2 legs, but 8 in total. All right, Luis, where's Luis? Excellent, new leader. Oh, look. Coming up at you. Okay, number 4. What is the name of our required textbook? Somebody has to laugh at the green one, right? Like, if I ever wrote an abnormal psych textbook, that's what I would name it. Abnormality in you. Perfect. The blue one, Fundamentals of Abnormal Psych. How many of you got a copy or ordered a copy of the book since I saw you last? Excellent. A lot of you, again, try and get a copy of that as soon as you can, either the new version or the 5th edition. Either one would be fine. But we will start using that obviously today. So the sooner the better. Okay, let's see. Back to the worm. You're going to be the worm now for the rest of the semester. I'll get past it, I promise. Okay, next one, number 5, true or false? You should come to class even if you weren't feeling well. I answered that quickly. Excellent. Obviously, no, right? False. If you're not feeling well, stay home. Remember that all the lectures are recorded. I already posted the one from last class. It took a couple hours, but it's posted. So if you ever aren't feeling well, you can always watch those later and then you will be all caught up. Let's see. Oh, who is this person? All right, you're right. You're in the lead now. Like, I'm not really all that competitive, but for some reason, when we play this, I'm like, take them down. Like, it's like it comes out of somewhere deep inside. I don't know. Okay, next question. Our exams will be taken. We just talked about this. Excellent. Look at all of you are doing so well, right? On Canvas, right? So our exams will be taken on Canvas on those days. Again, we won't meet in person. Right. Oh, back to the worm, back to Cassidy. Okay. Number 7, if you miss an exam, which of the following is true about making it up? A little more split, but most of you perfect. So if you're gonna miss an exam again, you have the entire span of that day, but if something is going on for you, as long as you reach out to me before the deadline and we make prior arrangements, I am happy to work with you. So just something to remember, again, as we go through, if you are contacting me and keeping in touch with me, I will happily work with you and be very flexible as long as you don't reach out to me after a deadline. It's kind of my one part rule. Yeah.
So if there's an emergency day on that, so okay.
Yeah, as long as it's before that 11, you can email me at 11:58 and it's still okay. At 12:01 a.m. it will be too late. And I have to draw the line somewhere. So that's just kind of been something that I've adopted because of COVID. And again, if something comes up, please reach out to me, right? I'm human, I get it. I'm human too. But I understand if things come up, just reach out to me and keep talking to me. All right. Where are we at? Oh, True, new leader. Where's True? All right, very exciting. Okay. Number 8. Attendance and participation are graded by okay, 10 random 10-point activities. Remember the index card is number 1 is the first one. I'll collect those from you at the end today. But 10 random 10-point activities. I'll never give you a pop quiz. I'm not that mean. But 10 random 10-point activities. And try and be here, obviously, as often as you can. Ooh, Haley, where's Haley? New leader. I'm so excited for you when you're a leader, right? Okay. If you miss a participation exercise homework assignment, it can be submitted. Ooh, that was almost split, right? Okay, by email before the end of the class session, it was due. So if I give you a homework assignment that's due, for example, Monday, and you're going to miss Monday, you can email that to me before the end of class on Monday, and I'll still accept it for full points. Okay, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk with a couple of people around you in a few minutes. So you can get information from them. You can always reach out to a classmate, see if there was a homework assignment. It's probably a really good idea to do. So I will help you with that in a few minutes. Let's see where we're at. Hannah, new leader. Where's Hannah? Excellent. Okay. Number 10. In this class, you will write how many papers divided into how many parts? One paper, 3 parts, right? So the one diagnosis paper will have a movie selection part in a couple of weeks, or show selection. You'll tell me who you're going to be analyzing. Then there'll be like a rough draft and a source part. And again, we'll build up to these. We'll be going to the library. They'll help you with picking a source. We'll talk a lot about it. and then the third part will be the final paper. Okay, so one paper, 3 parts. Haley's on fire, apparently. Haley, right? Okay. Last one, most important question by far of all. So snarky. Okay. Who's my favorite football player? And I threw in a baseball player just to test your random knowledge of sports. Excellent. All right. Yeah. Bellinger. Somebody pick the baseball player, right? See, yeah. Brady, right? Totally doesn't matter, but I had to put it in there because I can, right? Okay. So let's see here. See our podium. 3rd place, Sam, right? Very nice. 2nd place, Kim. Where's Kim? Very nice. And 1st place, Haley. I was waiting for the worm. Come on. All right, Haley. All right. Okay. So if you're one of these 3, or if you won any of the rounds at the end today, don't forget to get candy. I found a new candy yesterday. Like little things in life, right? I've never had caramel M&Ms before. I'm like, keep this one. Like, they're delicious, right? Anyway, I'll keep that one for later. So I brought some new candy. So make sure if you're one of these people or one of the winners, come check in with me when we're done today. Otherwise, we'll leave this behind for now. Any last other questions? Anything else about the syllabus? Those are just a few kind of key things to remember. But anything else for now? Yeah.
Since this is abnormal psychology, maybe we could arrange to have an abnormally short final paper.
An abnormally short final paper. It might be, right? Or an abnormally short last class, maybe it would be another way of looking at it. I like that. It's a good thought. I like it. It's a good thought. All right. So 2 more things before we jump into this. First, where did it go? I wrote my thoughts down. You got me thinking about that, and now I'm thinking about candy. Okay. So what I want you to do, and I mentioned this a moment ago, is I want you to find a couple of people around you. Now, we're creatures of habit, and most of you have already sat in the same spot that you did last time, if I'm remembering correctly, and you probably will all semester. And I've seen fights break out about seats, like legitimately people are protective of seats. Yeah, it happens, right? That's my chair. So what I want you to do is find a couple of people around you and exchange a phone number, an email, social media name, whatever you're comfortable exchanging. But your classmates are your best resource. If you miss a class, they can help you with notes. They can let you know if there was a homework assignment. You can also obviously watch the recording, but it's nice to have a few people that you can reach out to. You can add to this later, but you at least we'll start with a few. So find a couple of people. I'll give you a few minutes, exchange some information, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Like what's that?
Do you mind if I use the restroom?
No, go for it. And again, you can add to this. You can add to this later. But for now, please feel free to email me. Don't say that I missed anything. Watch the video. You can reach out to a classmate. That way, if there was homework, you know you need to contact me to get it. You get notes from that person. I'd like to also add, I wrote campus security up here on the board. And I continue to think that it's really sad that we have to talk about our safety and security in here, but we do a little bit, right? So if anything were to ever happen on campus, you see something that is off or abnormal, if something happens in here, if there's an emergency, they want us to call 911 now. In the past, it was this number. But I want to give you this number just in case, so that you do have it. If something ever happens to me, somebody please call 911, right? Like if I just fall over and I'm not responding, don't just leave, right? Somebody call us. I don't think you would do that, but I always have that fear that I'll just like pass out and that'll be the end of me and we're leaving. So if something ever happens on campus, call 911. I hope we never have to deal with an emergency. Right, but if we do, we'll get through it together. Okay. But hopefully that's not something that we run across. But I will give you that number just so that you have it. Last thing, and then we get into chapter 1. Very exciting. I mentioned this last class, but I would love to recommend to you to take notes. Okay, and you don't have to. You probably know by now what works for you and what doesn't, as far as like note taking and so on. But in general, the more ways that you put information into your brain, the more ways, the more likely you are to remember it. So if you're listening to my voice, looking at the slides, and writing it down, that's 3 methods of encoding. That's only going to help you to remember it. Okay, so in general, what I would suggest is you don't need to write down what's on the slides. The slides are posted on Canvas, as I showed you last time. So you have access to this. What you want to write down is anything else. Right? Anything that I write on the board, any examples that I give or questions that you have or anything in addition to what's in the slides. Now, a lot of my students have shared this with me, and obviously it's been a couple of years since we've been doing this in person, but what oftentimes people have done is print the slides out, and this is optional. But if you're a very visual person or a very like kinesthetic person, people sometimes like to write on the actual slide or have space right here for notes. You should be taking notes in general, but how you do that is kind of up to you. And you can do it on technology or on a piece of paper. But a lot of people have suggested this to me, that this is something I've seen of printing it out in that 3-slide format and taking notes on. Always better, in my opinion, to over prepare and go a little too far in the first unit when you don't know what to expect. And then you can dial it back a little bit if you find that you were maybe reading more than you needed to or studying more than you needed to. But it's never a fun moment to be like, oh, I should have done more, and not be able to go back and do that. Okay. I think that is everything. Any last questions or thoughts, comments, anything at all before we start chapter 1? I really love this chapter. I don't know why. I love every chapter in this class, but all right. So in this chapter, what we'll look at, and what we'll spend pretty much all of today looking at is how do we define abnormality? Like, how do we know what's normal versus abnormal? And that is not an easy question, right? It's not at all simple. And then we'll look at how do we view abnormality in the past? And it's pretty shameful if we look at the history of treatment and psychology, some of the current trends, some of the current jobs. So we're kind of a little bit of an overview of what is abnormality and then some of the views over time. So starting with a definition, abnormal psychology. This whole class is abnormal psych or abnormal psychology. The scientific study of abnormal behavior in order to help us describe, predict, and explain, right, different patterns that we're seeing. Right, so we're talking about something that is abnormal. Right? Normality and what is normal is incredibly subjective. What's normal to me might not be normal to you, right? What's normal today probably isn't normal 2 years ago or 2 years from now. Normal and normality is different in different parts of the world. So it's not always easy to know whether someone is just maybe a little like odd or eccentric or different, or do they have a mental illness, right? It's not as simple as like a yes, no answer a lot of the time. And that's what we're going to spend a good chunk of our day today looking at. How do we decide, or what are some of the metrics that we might use to decide if somebody is suffering from a mental illness or not? And again, just something to keep in mind, it's almost never black and white. And I think one of the best ways to get an idea of what is normal versus abnormal is to watch someone try and fake having a mental illness. All right, so I have a clip of that we'll watch. Classic old Ace Ventura clip. He's faking being mentally ill. And I think that gives us a good idea of like some of the viewpoints and stereotypes that we have of what mental illness might look like. So let me hit this light here. And then we'll pause this so I can post this back on. But what are some of the things that he does to make it seem what are some of the things that he does to make it seem like he has a mental illness? Like, what are some of the things that he puts out there to make it seem like he's mentally ill? Yeah.
He's acting erratic and like delusionally fixated on something.
Yeah, right. Obsessed with football. Oh, so sad, right? Right, obsessed with football. He's very erratic. What else does he do that's odd? Yeah. Yeah, right. Facial expressions are bizarre. What else? Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily know where he is in space and time.
Yeah, right. He's not necessarily present in where he is at the moment. Yeah.
Abnormal speech patterns by yelling.
Mm-hmm. Right. His volume, his tempo, like gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that, right? Anything else? Yeah.
Childlike nature is kind of.
Yeah, for sure. There's at least one more thing. Yeah. Yeah, right. The way he's dressed is definitely odd, right? There's more. Like his whole presentation is odd, right? And so he's trying to fake being mentally ill. And I think that gives us a good starting point, right? Of some of the things that we tend to use as a gauge of what mental illness looks like. Now, obviously, it's not that way for everyone, but there are kind of a guideline that we use called the 5 Ds of abnormality. Now, the textbook talks about 4 Ds of abnormality, but I added a 5th. So I don't know, the Setmire 5th D, I don't know, I added a 5th one. But these Ds aren't, they're not diagnostic, right? They're not going to be in the DSM, which we'll talk about later. These are more of like a guideline. If people meet these 5 Ds, then we might start to wonder if there's something more going on, if maybe they have a mental illness. And they don't have to have all of them, but again, they're kind of like a rough guideline. The first one is deviance. If someone is deviant or acting very differently, right, they have a very different presentation than what is normal, right, than what is the norm. Norms are rules that we have for like proper conduct. There is a norm for everything. Every single one of you right now, super easy norm. Every single one of you has clothing on. You knew that you couldn't come to school today without clothes, right? Like if you did, you would have been in trouble. Right? That's an easy norm. Another one, every single one of you is seated and facing forward right now. Right? Like how distracted would you be, or like just completely derailed even if somebody spent the entire class like standing over here in the corner. Right? There are norms for everything. Elevators are my favorite norm to break. I love when you get in an elevator, you're supposed to just like stand there forward and be quiet. I like to turn around. I don't know. I started this years ago. But if you walk in an elevator and instead of facing forward, turn around and face the other people, especially like in COVID times, it makes people so uncomfortable. And I don't know why I find that funny. But there's a norm for everything. When people break norms, we notice. They stand out. Right? And every culture has different norms, right? So there is a norm for the culture that is our classroom, right? Other classrooms might have a different norm. Your like ethnic cultures or racial cultures or orientations, religious cultures, everybody has what is like normal and proper. Families too, right? Within my family, we have dessert every night. It's like a rule almost, like forget a norm. It's like a hard rule, right? Dessert, it's coming, right? Other families, maybe not, right? Every family or every culture has things that are normal to them or norms or rules. And if you break those things, you tend to stand out. Right? So again, if somebody was acting very differently than the norm, you would notice, right? And it may make you wonder a little bit about their mental health potentially. The second D is distress. Disorders cause distress. It's actually one of the criteria. It causes significant distress and impairment. Every single disorder has that as a criteria. Right? So disorders make you uncomfortable, or maybe they make the people around you uncomfortable. They cause discomfort in some way. They also cause dysfunction. That's the third D. It interferes with your ability to function in your like daily life. You are so hungover that you can't make it to work in the morning. You are so anxious about maybe being called on that you can't go to your class, right? It interferes with your life in some way, causes dysfunction. A lot of disorders also cause an element of danger. Not all of them, but danger to self, or maybe even danger to others. There are a lot of disorders where we see self-harming behavior, suicidal behaviors, or disorders where people are violent and aggressive to other people and don't feel bad about it. There's a lot of elements of danger associated with mental illness. And then I added the fifth one of duration, right? When behaviors or emotions or thoughts last longer than is typical. Now, typical is incredibly subjective, right? But oftentimes we look at duration. It's a criteria for almost every disorder. How long have you been depressed? And is it longer than we would say is maybe typical for the circumstances you're dealing with? And again, there aren't always rules for what's typical, but it is a kind of a very good indicator. If something's lasting longer than it maybe should, that tends to be diagnostically relevant. So what we tend to do as psychologists or as people is use these 5 Ds very informally. If somebody is showing a lot of these things, we might wonder whether or not they have a mental illness. Now I have an example of this. I don't know if any of you have seen these two individuals before. They're very like famous within their like community. But I want to show you a clip of this individual here who goes by the name of Stalking Cat. Now, just looking at this person, right, they obviously kind of stand out, right? Like if you were walking down Raider Walk and you saw an individual who looked like that, you probably would do a double take. But is that enough to qualify as a disorder? And we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Is duration one is
Yes. Yeah. So the duration is the one that I. So let me show you a little clip of Stalking Cat. That's his name that he has chosen for himself. And I just want you to be thinking as you watch this, do you think that he has a disorder or not? Like if you had to pick one or the other, what would you lean toward? Where are you? Okay, here we go.
My given name is Stalking Cat. I'm Native American, and I follow the teachings that I learned when I was young. The modifications that I'm doing are part of a very old Huron tradition, and it's getting me closer to where I want to be and getting me closer to my totem, and ultimately it makes dealing with the day-to-day life a lot easier. I'm a lot more comfortable with who I am. I'm after the best cross between a tiger and a human as I can come up with. I've had implants put in my nose and the bridge of my eyes. My ears are pointed. I've got tiger teeth. I've got piercings for whiskers. Transdermal implants up here for the eyebrow whiskers. My septum's been relocated. My lips been cleft. I've done quite a bit. Some of the procedures that Steve and I have done have been stuff that I've come up with the concepts on how to do it. Between him and I, we've come up with the procedures. And some of the things, there just aren't either materials or technology there to do right now, so I'm constantly pushing the envelope on that. Now I'm working on locating somebody who can do tattooing. It's been done before, so that rather than cat eyes, they'll be tiger eyes and they'll be permanent. The next upcoming thing is going to be doing some transdermal implants that I can mount like tiger ears up on top of my head. I'm still looking for somebody capable of doing fur, but due to genetic differences, I'm not certain if that's going to happen, even though it's still well within the realm of possibilities. Have a few people working on engineering a possible way of doing retractable claws. There are quite a few other things in the works. Just a matter of what can be done at a particular time and where technology and materials and my personal finances are at. My teeth were done by a local dentist. There was a impression made, and then all my teeth were yanked out, and these were done.
Okay, really interesting individual, right? And there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, but what I want you to do, I forgot to pause it. That's okay. I'll edit that up. What I want you to do is to get into groups of like 3 to 4 people, like whatever's easy and convenient around you. And I want you to just talk about it for a moment. Do you think that stalking cat has a disorder or not? Okay. And then while you're meeting in groups, I'm going to put up, I have another Kahoot. We're going to vote on it just so we can see. And there's a couple other people we're going to vote on. So while you're talking about it, at some point, also join that Kahoot. I'll write the pin up here, but find like 3 or 4 people, chat about him for a minute and join the Kahoot. And then we'll talk about it together. Let me bring this up. Vote on him here. Anybody else logging in? Okay, give you just another minute. All right, so I'm gonna do a forced choice. And I think I mentioned last time, I'm a judge. People make me choose between two things. I'm very unhappy. So I'm always torn between two things. But I want you to pick. Do you think he has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder? And you can be on the fence, but you have to vote for one or the other. So let's see where we're at, and then we'll talk about it together. Do you think he has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder? So here we go. Just a poll on him. Stalking cats. So red has a disorder, blue does not. Interesting. Okay, so now we can see, right, like where we're at. So most of you lean toward yes, but not, I won't say it's an overwhelming majority. So what do you think? Why yes or why no? Let's talk about them a little bit. Yeah.
I can't really explain it, but it just makes sense to me. But I could see stuff like that having like body dysmorphia.
Okay. Yeah. And if there was a disorder to give him, right, that would be one that would fit. Multiple surgeries to adjust for, the way that he feels like he appears. Yeah. Okay. So you lean toward yes. We would say he has a disorder.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But I just makes sense.
Sure. And again, there's no right or wrong necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, going off what Ty said, we talked about like, most, because he's Native American, they're very good at spiritual animals, like, say with the totem pole thing. Like, from what I said, there's a difference between believing like you are a spirit animal and becoming that spirit animal.
Sure.
So at that point, it almost seems like he's crossing over into the deviance or even the stress category.
Yeah.
Which kind of puts him in that range of having, some like bodily dysmorphia and like.
Okay. So you lean toward yes as
Yeah.
well. Okay. Do you want to follow up on that?
I don't do the stress. I don't know if it's in the video, but I've definitely like heard of him before.
Yeah.
And what I remember hearing from another clip was like that he, like how he went through like a lot of surgeries and stuff. He didn't find those like pleasant.
Yeah.
But
I
like
can
he still had to do it again, like where he's at, and he still had that.
Sure. I mean, you couldn't pay me enough to have that done to my teeth. I mean, I hate the dentist anyway. Just even that alone, right? I'm sure the procedures were expensive and painful. I mean, I would imagine you had your hand. Yeah.
We'll just do whatever it wants to his body and just believes that this is right, this is this.
Okay, great. Yeah, we would like to know.
I don't think there's a powerful disorder. So I would,
Okay.
Because there are people in our society who are extremely, the challenge society.
True.
And that's a role. It actually almost reinforces the norm that there's someone who is politely abnormal. Makes the normal feel better. Actually, it probably makes the abnormal. My criteria would be, has it ever broken societal norms to the extent that this person has been confined?
Okay.
Or has been voluntarily treated for this? That would be the ultimate, you see. So we have an amazingly eccentric person, but so on that level, you would say, well, other people have had something done with it.
Sure.
This is just extreme. other people have tattoos.
Yeah.
This is just huge to me.
Tattoos, piercings,
So I would, that would be my criteria for no.
politely abnormal. I love them. That would be like a good tattoo. I am politely abnormal. Politely abnormal.
The ironic part is that the person who thinks they're being very eccentric is actually reinforcing the
Sure.
different. And the other part is the norm kind of bites the bizarre one, because it makes them feel more inclusive and fluid.
You need the two. I like it. How about for you? What did you think?
I definitely agree with several points this gentleman just shared, where, you know, if anything, you know, he could have some unrelated mental illness that wasn't necessarily touched upon in that video,
Something
but
underlying.
yeah, but his behavior to me is really, like, if anything, it reinforces cultural norms
Sure.
where, for instance, I was telling a couple of my neighbors that in Africa, there's this tribe that for hundreds of years, you know, they believe that they are related spiritually to crocodiles. So they engage in this very extreme form of scarification that renders their skin, you know, quite similar to the texture that you'd see on one of those crocodiles.
Sure.
You know, they'll go even further and insert, you know, like these stretching discs into their bottom lip, you know, like stretch their earlobes, have, you know, like very, you know, robust piercings on the forehead. And it's like, you know, these people, you can't say that that is attributed entirely to mental illness or that it, I don't know, it just seems,
Within that culture, right?
yes.
Yeah, and I think culture is an important thing to consider with him, right? He talks about culture. But does it go beyond what we would consider normal? Again, I don't know, right? It's not necessarily right or wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
What it's like, what it stems from is like he's unhappy with himself, because that's why he's relying on like another image of a
Sure.
behavior, you know, and where it comes from and why he's doing this and why he's going to each of it.
Okay. I love it. Would it change your mind at all for any of you, and it may or may not, if you, to let you know that he committed suicide? Would that change your mind at all about how you voted? I say a couple of you nodding, no, yes, maybe, right? He, it's been years now, and he didn't say why, but he took his own life, right? So there might have been something underlying going on with him. We don't necessarily know, but I mean, even with someone who seems so outwardly like odd or eccentric or different, we're pretty split, right? As a class, right? Definitely different, right? And again, nothing wrong with doing a double take or like looking at that, like, whoa, that's not what I was expecting to see, but does it qualify as a disorder? Right. And that's, again, I have 4 more examples of this that I want you to think about. So in your little groups that you have, I have 4 scenarios, and I just want you to read through them as a group and decide, do they have a disorder or not? And again, I'm forcing you to choose, and I'm sorry, but you can lean one way or the other, hopefully. And then we will vote on and talk about it. Okay, so if you want to, it might be faster. If you want to send one person up from your group just to grab one, I have plenty. If you want to grab a few, that's fine. Go ahead and get reading on it. You're not turning it in, so you're welcome to write on it, turning it in. Yeah, feel free to grab a couple if you want.
Okay.
No, I think she has, we go through these.
Yeah, go ahead and read through them and talk about it as a group, and then we'll vote. So don't exit out of the, don't exit out of the.
Yeah. No, it was.
100% outside. Yeah, way to go, Scott. Another one. What?
It's just like fascinating. That ended part about this fucking business makes it very cool. And then it takes-
I do. I wouldn't say so. Very nice. So, like, I don't really appreciate unless I'm not. I would like because the only thought that he's been like
Yeah, I agree. But we definitely didn't have it.
But once you start.
And also like. What would be a lot of like what you do. So. Let's about Eric. I would say it's really tough. It's not survey. For help. But I think it's when you want to.
And then we felt it was good. The book was in kind of I guess it's like that.
All right. I want to vote and talk about each one quickly. So if you logged out of the Kahoot for any reason, make sure you log back in. But we'll keep going here. We're going to vote on each one. So we'll vote on Andrew, and then we'll talk a little bit about Andrew. And the nice part about the voting is if you didn't agree with your group, you can express your own opinion this way. But we'll do the same with Andrew as we did with Stocking Cat. Do you think Andrew has a disorder or doesn't have a disorder? And honestly, I think on this list, most of these people are pretty debatable. Andrew might be the most clear cut. I think the rest of them are pretty debatable, but let's see what we come up with. So here we go for Andrew. Does he have a disorder or not? The suspense, right? I don't know. Okay. Oh, all right. So I think Andrew is the one on this sheet, and I would completely agree that I would say he has a disorder, right? The one on the sheet that I like without question. Why? Why did you think Andrew has a disorder? Yeah.
He's a social.
Right, right. Right. Bottom line, right? He is antisocial. Antisocial personality disorder, right? Commonly known as a sociopath or a psychopath, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's the lack of empathy, the lack of remorse or guilt. That's a huge red flag, right? And so I think Andrew, pretty clear cut, but after Andrew, it gets a little messier, right? And so I wanted you to have one rewarding, like, oh, I know that one. And then if you weren't sure on the others, that's okay. That's kind of the point, right? That it's a little bit difficult sometimes to decide. And if you're like, I need more information, right? You probably weren't alone. So let's vote on the next one. Barbara, my favorite on this list. Let's vote on Barbara. Okay, Barbara has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. All right, so overwhelming majority said no. Few people said yes. Thoughts? What do we think about Barbara? Yeah.
Like her symptoms are like symptoms of a mental disorder, but the thing is, the one that stands out to me is it says like in like the window of like the menstruation cycle, and it's very normal for your hormones to fluctuate in that cycle.
Right.
And like it says like it just goes away after that.
Okay.
So that's like the thing, is like the duration of it doesn't seem like abnormal.
So did you say no disorder?
I said
Like PMS, right? I remember when I was a kid, my dad said there's going to be a few days out of a month where your mom is a different person. That time he would look at me like, see. Okay, all right. A lot of women experience PMS. These are pretty typical PMS symptoms, but we could add more to it. Yeah. Worm. Yeah.
I think she has like a biological disorder connected to PMS.
Okay.
Postmenstrual dysphoric disorder.
PMDD.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it aligns with all of those symptoms.
Yep.
She's just having a real hard.
Okay. Right. And there are some women who have PMS so extreme that it qualifies as a disorder, right? PMDD is the acronym for it, where it's intensely severe, right? Whether or not she's there or maybe on her way and we're concerned about her, I think is up for debate. Any other thoughts about Barbara? Yeah.
I would say no, just because it's law school. Like that's the biggest thing. It's stressful.
Okay.
I mean, maybe like PMS stuff after, but I feel like stress weighs on you really heavily. And maybe bring about other things, but then overall, just like the thing that stood out with law school, extremely stressful.
So you're like, she's got stress. Like,
She's extremely stressed.
interesting. Okay. But you still lean toward no.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts about Barbara before we move on? I lean toward no, right? Like it's probably fairly normal hormonal stuff, stress. But it could escalate to something like PMDD where it's a little bit more severe for her. The next two get a little bit more gray, I think. So we'll see what we come up with. Let's vote on Diane, right? Diane has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. Okay, a little bit more split here. So most of you said does not. About 8 of you said she does. Yes, I had to look at it. So what do we think about Diane? Yeah.
I was one of the people that said yes,
Okay.
and the reason why I said yes is that I think she has like major depression,
Okay.
and why I think that is, she literally says herself that she often lacks the energy to do much of anything, and that's like one of the like main
Symptoms.
main symptoms that psychologists are like looking for to diagnose you
Okay.
with depression. So that's what I thought.
Sure. I mean, that's a great point. Great point. Yeah.
I said no, just because like she did say that she was like lacking energy. Like I would say she
Yeah.
was depressed, but I think due to all the recent like, changes in her life, I wouldn't consider it like a disorder.
Okay. Great. I love it. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it, like, maybe she's feeling is abnormal, because it's like things that are happening in her life too, you know, it's not like if you're looking at it from the outside perspective, why is this happening? Like, this isn't normal, you know, these things are happening too, like, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
She had a lot happen,
Right.
right? And I think it's important to ask yourself questions like, what would you expect somebody to react, right? Like if she wasn't sad and struggling, like I would say that would be abnormal, right? Like I think her responses to what happened, what you consider like a typical response are pretty like on par with what I think most of us would respond with, right? If you found out that somebody was cheating on you and you were going through all of these things, right? I think it's a pretty typical response, right? But could it last longer or become more severe? Maybe, right? Any other thoughts before we move on? Yeah.
My reflexes were too cat-like, and I instantly voted yes. Where I definitely agree with everybody else, where, you know, the duration of this, like this, she's never had problems with this in her life,
Sure.
but we can't eliminate the possibility that this could develop
Yeah.
into a mental illness.
Yeah.
If she doesn't figure things out, get some sort of treatment and recover.
And I think that's a really important thing to remember with anybody and with anything that we go through in life, right? We might progress through it and be okay and work through it and be fine, or we might, as we're working through it, have it become more severe and become a disorder, right? So I think with her, like I would be on watch, but I would vote, if I had to vote, I would lean toward no for now, but I would want to know, you know, is she going to get better? Is she going to continue to move forward? If she doesn't, and it lasts a long time, then I might wonder if it's changed a little bit. So if you were like, she might be on the path I'm concerned, I think that's where I put myself with her. But Eric, I don't know. We'll see what you think about Eric. It's kind of a similar idea, but let's vote on Eric. Last one here. Has a disorder, doesn't have a disorder. The suspense. I'm dying to know what you meant, right? All right. 4 seconds. I can wait for it. Maybe. All right. Okay, so we flopped almost. We were 16 and 8. Now we're 18 and 5. So a lot more of you said has a disorder. What was the tipping point? Yeah.
I think this one is listening.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like what we discussed. They got to that point where
Yeah.
he unfortunately didn't get better and didn't get that help and went down that path.
Yeah, I think he is a little more severe than Diane, right? I would think maybe, yeah.
I feel like the tipping point for me was when he said that he didn't feel like that his life was worth living and he wanted to live off of this. I feel like anyone who has suicidal thoughts, that's
Yeah.
not normal, period. So that would be like very concerning and stuff. And
Sure.
even with the duration, it's still not normal.
Yeah, so the suicidal thoughts was kind of what tipped
Yeah.
you, right? And that's why a lot of you nodding when she said that, right? The suicidality is concerning, right? It's not necessarily a symptom, but it is a red flag. Yeah.
I went for the yes. My friends and I years ago, the man that played Superman in the '70s movies was a horse jumper.
Right.
This man was such a jock, he rode horses and jumped hurdles, and he was thrown from the horse and he became totally paralyzed from being this, like, really an athlete to being totally paralyzed. And we began talking, and to me, the question is really, would you wanna live if you were totally paralyzed from the neck down?
Sure.
And we had a discussion amongst my friends, and again, this was a couple of decades ago. And I don't think I would.
Yeah.
I let them, and I have a wife for decades, and I've got a
Yeah.
daughter. But I just don't think I would want to live, to be frank with you, if that's how much I value being able to walk. And I have to say that there's reasons. The other thing is the morphine. The man is now probably realistically a morphine addict. So that's, to me, it's like, there's two strong reasons this man is having these extreme thoughts. Because these two stunningly extreme things happened in his life.
Yeah. And I think
I
again,
go for the minority. That's my explanation.
Yeah.
of my minority.
yeah, and I think so that, again, what would you expect the reaction to be? I had a client who lost a leg due to cancer. Back when I was practicing to be a therapist or training to be a therapist, and he was extremely suicidal because it changed his entire life. And I think having some degree of suicidality under those circumstances is very normal. But a little bit about he has decided he'd like to end it all. That's the red flag for me, the decision. But again, what's to be expected? And I don't think being suicidal under the circumstances is that far out of that box. Yeah.
I think I actually put no
Okay.
first, but after hearing a lot of those, what I initially thought about it, I thought of it like, seasonal depression. When I was an athlete, I blew out my knee and couldn't walk for 18 months, like on 2 legs. And that really messed me up. Like, I play the sport I love. But after hearing like the suicidality, then thinking more like he's not gonna get better unless like implants or something like that. I feel like he has one now, like it's developed over time of not being able to walk.
Do you want to revote?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more worried about him than I am about them. Right? Like, so if I had to vote, I think I would lean toward here, but it's on the line. I feel like, except for Andrew, right? Our clear-cut sociopath, right? Except for Andrew, I feel like all of these folks, we could make a case either way. Last thought, and then I want to leave time for attendance. Go for it.
So the disorder is a disruptive and systematic functioning, so I think, right?
Mhm.
And so it says, he remains quite rational, he's been able to do some work. So I feel like the decision to commit suicide isn't something irrational, is thinking clearly.
Okay.
Kind of decision has another developing mind commit suicide after he was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to be, it wasn't like he just couldn't live with himself, it was just that he didn't want to put the burden. on his family.
Yeah.
So rather than treating it as a symptom, it's kind of just a product of the situation.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, right? And we'll talk more about suicidality and all these disorders that we're kind of skirting around a little bit. We'll talk about them throughout the semester. Again, I think the biggest takeaway from this, if I could drive one point home, it's just that it isn't always black and white, right? Like, I think most of us have an idea in our head of mental illness is obvious when you see it. Not always, right? It can be glaringly obvious. It can also be exceedingly subtle, right? And so we'll talk about the symptoms and the criteria all semester long, but the APA and the DSM, it's a lot of acronyms in one sentence there. The APA DSM released a statement about what we would qualify as a disorder, and I'll let you read it, but it has to have that significant distress and impairment. It has to be globally affecting you. It has to last for a certain amount of time. There's all these criteria, and those are things that we will again talk about. And thank you so much for all of you who participated and chimed in and shared your thoughts. I love it. That's amazing. All I want to do, I only have a few minutes left. I'm sorry to go so close up to the end, but let me take attendance really quickly, and then I'll collect your index cards from you as you leave. So if you could just give me 2 more minutes, and then I'll get you out of here. And again, if I don't call your name or if I continue to mess it up, keep correcting me. I will get there. I promise. Dylan?
Here.
Great. Thank you. Malvin? Ginger?
Here.
Kim? Samantha? Keep it down for just like one more minute. I don't want to really, drop somebody here. So Lucas. Perfect. Tatum? Yeah. Victoria? Yeah. Hannah? Yeah. Manfred? Yes. Reese?
Yeah.
Sam? Wade?
Here.
Okay. Daniel?
Here.
Colin? Colin? Jackson?
Here.
Tag?
Here.
Drew? Haley? Louise? Sophia?
Here.
Lily?
Here.
Sharon?
Here.
And Cassie?
Here.
Okay, if I didn't call your name, come check in with me. Make sure you drop off your index card right here. And if you were one of the winners of the Kahoot, grab some candy. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll keep going with the rest of chapter 1 when I see you on Monday.
So thank you. Oh my God.
And if you have extras of the disorder sheet. Oh, here, so let me pull that up for you. So you could take a picture of it. Just a second.